Hello and welcome to Getting Started with Hyper. My name's Trip. I'm a full stack developer and technical product manager. And what we're going to do in this video is show you just how easy it is to create backend services with Hyper and then start coding to send data back and forth to those services. So strap in, we're going to give you a really quick tour and let's get started with Hyper. So what exactly is Hyper? Hyper provides the ability to create 5 backend services in the cloud, and it's incredibly simple to do so. And then we also provide a promise-based SDK as well as a RESTful API that will provide access to these backend cloud services. So these services that you see here are all provisioned and set up with a click of a button, and they're done with best practice. So they're going to be secure, scalable, and fast, and available for you. This is going to enable you essentially to shift your focus from the details behind building backend services, you leave that to us, and maintaining those services, and instead shift your focus to where it matters. That's going to be your business logic and your features. And those are the things that your customers care about. Okay, here we are at the browser. Let's create a Hyper application and a Hyper service in the cloud. So we're going to go to our main website, hyper.io, where you can learn all about Hyper, the product and pricing. And we're going to go to our developer dashboard at dashboard.hyper.io. And I'm going to click the GitHub button to get started. This will allow me to authenticate with the dashboard. And now what I'll do is create an application. So a Hyper application contains key pairs, which provide access to application services. That's those cloud services like data, storage, cache, queue, and search. So this is the primary mechanism for organizing and controlling how your client apps can access your Hyper services. So we're going to add an application. Hyper is going to provide a default unique name that should be unique across all of Hyper. We're just going to accept this default. You can change this if you like, but it needs to be unique. And we're going to deselect the data and cache service and just leave the storage service checked. So we're going to be dealing with an app that's going to be uploading and downloading images to a storage bucket within Hyper. So let's create that app. Let's provision this securely in the cloud. So with just a click of a button, we're off and running, and it's provisioning this storage bucket within our Hyper application. So in just a few moments, we'll be provisioned and we can start writing code. It's literally just that easy. So we'll just wait and watch this spin, as exciting as it is, as it provisions and secures and sets up your storage bucket with best practice in the cloud. There's no need to learn Terraform or any other sort of back-end provisioning DevOps technology. You can focus on creating features. So we've created our service within our app. If we go back to our dashboard, we can see our new app, and we can see the details of the app. We can see we have some keys. There is no data service, but we could add one. There's a storage service that we just created when we created the app, and your other services as well that we could add if we wanted to. So I'm going to take a look at these keys. You have a key and you have a secret. And those key and the secret are put into what we call a connection string. Now you can copy this connection string to the clipboard and then use that in an environment variable. And that's what we're going to do in our app coming right up. So stay with me. Okay, it is time now to write some code. So if you remember, we created our Hyper app and we have our connection string and we copied it to our clipboard. We're going to use this as an environment variable within our node apps.env file. We're going to create an environment variable called Hyper and set it equal to that connection string. So again, that name was Hyper, all capital Hyper. And then within our Express app, we're going to need access to a Hyper SDK that in turn will need that connection string. So we have to install our Hyper SDK. This SDK works for both Node and Deno. It has IntelliSense built in. It's very nice. So let's install it. Let's say yarn add hyperconnect. That adds that as a dependency, and then we can import a connect function to help us connect to our Hyper app from hyperconnect. Now let's call this connect function. We're going to create an object called hyper, or connect will create an object called hyper, provided we give it the hyper connection string. Now this hyper object will now allow us to interact with the 5 different hyper services. So in case of upload, what we're going to need to do is call hyper.storage so we can upload a file into storage, right? If we were working with the database, we would say, presuming we've deployed a hyper data service, we could then call hyper data and then add to create a document into the document database. If we wanted to add something to our in-memory cache, we could call hyper cache, and we could add something to cache, right, with a key and a value pair. If we were using queue and we wanted to enqueue something to our queue or send something to the queue, we could send a job to the queue. So you kind of get the gist. This is a really intuitive, easy to use SDK. I think you're going to love it. You need to give it a try. So back to the app. So this app is we're going to have a UI that's going to make calls to this API that you see here. We're going to select a file and then select a submit button to upload it. This API here, this post upload route will handle the lifting of receiving in the file and then sending it on to the hyper storage service. So first we need to get the file from the multi-part form. So we're going to create a variable here called file, and we're going to get it from the request object. Now the middleware that we're using is really good for multi-part forms. I've got a control on that multi-part form called my file, and this will contain the file. So this middleware is really good at handling that. That middleware is called Express File Upload, so check it out. I've enjoyed using it. And again, if you want to see all the code completed for this and all our other samples, it's in our documentation, and I'll give you a quick tour at the end of this video. So we've got our file. Now what we want to do is use that hyper object to upload something to storage. And it's going to want to know the name of the file. We can get that from file.name, and it's going to want to know the actual data that we need to send up to the upload service. So we can either send a string of data, we can send a buffer, or a readable stream. So we're going to use file.data. That'll satisfy that second argument of upload. The Hyperconnect SDK is promise-based, so we can await for a response. And when we get that response, we're going to capture that in a upload result. So let's code that real quick. Upload result. Cool. So that should take care of the upload. So we've gotten the file from the multi-part form, and we've uploaded the file to the storage service. Now that what we need to do is, just for our own sanity, we will console log out the result. So when we do a post upload, and we'll send out to the console the results of our upload. And then the last thing we need to do is redirect to home after we upload. This is made possible with Express's redirect on the response object. We tell it where we want to redirect to, and we're going to redirect to our UI home route. All right, so let's give it a spin. And we'll open up the browser and start looking at our app. So we can open this browser. And now we're at our home page, and we can call upload. So this is where we can choose the file that we want to upload. We'll just use, say, all PNG, and then we'll submit that. So it's uploading the image, and then it redirected back to home. If we look back in our console, we see that we've uploaded the post, and upload was okay. So, we set an environment variable. We imported HyperConnect, and then we're off and rolling. We're writing to to cloud services. It's super simple. Again, you're focused on your features, not your backend services. So now let's code the download. So when someone clicks download, we're going to enter in the name of the file, that all.png, and then hit submit, and it'll actually stream the file down from HyperStorage and display it in the browser. So let's code that up. And so in our download, what we're going to need to do here is we're going to have to get the name of the file from the form that was posted up to our download route by the UI. So we're going to create a file, our variable called file name, and this will have the name of our file. And that is available in the request body. And then there is a form on there called, or a control in there called file name that has our file name. Now that we have our file name, we can grab it from HyperStorage. So when we call HyperStorage download, see, it's going to need the name, the file name, and then it's going to return a readable stream. So it's going to stream down the file, and then we're going to take the results of that stream and pipe it to a writable stream, which in this case is Express's response object, is a writable stream. So we can get it from our source and then send it to our sink, which is the response object. So let's do that. To help us do that, we're going to use Permissify and a node library called pipeline. So we're going to set up a stream pipeline. We're using Permissify because, again, the Hyper SDK is promise based, so it's returning a promise of a stream. So let's create a stream pipeline. Const stream pipeline is equal to Permissify and pipeline. Again, you can review the code up on GitHub and get into the details of this if you prefer. Now that we've got our stream pipeline, what we're going to do is we are going to await the results of our stream pipeline. And now this is where we send in each piece of the pipeline. So the first step of the pipeline is we're going to await for HyperStorage download given the file name. And so that'll stream it down. And then once we've streamed it down, then we'll send it to the next part of the pipeline, and we'll send it to a writable stream response. If we wanted to massage the information in any way, we could write another stream handler here if we wanted to, but we're just sending it to the response. We're essentially creating a two-step pipeline, getting it from the download service, sending it to the response. So let's check that out. We'll go back and we'll go to, we're at home, download image, select the name of the file. I think it was all.png, and we'll submit it, and it gets streamed to our browser from the HyperStorage service. So that's pretty cool. Let's do it one more time. Go back home. We'll upload another file. We'll do the data services image here, which is kind of cool. And we'll submit that. And then we'll grab it from download. That was data-lg.png, I think. Let's see what happens. Oh, it doesn't exist. So we'll try again. Let's try JPG. Oh, it doesn't exist. What was the name of that file? Let's go back, and my memory's terrible. So we'll go back to upload. We'll choose the file again, and that was an SVG. Let's try hyperlogo PNG. Submit that, and then download that. Let's do hyperlogo.png. All right, so that concludes our demo. Let me show you where you can get some additional resources on this good stuff. So on our dashboard or from our main site, you can go to our documentation. We also have context-sensitive help items. So if you want to know more about storage, you can click the little help arrow, question arrow, and it'll tell you more about the storage service. We have our storage API, where you can find out more about uploading an object, organizing your files into different buckets and folder structures, and what the API is going to return. You can learn more about HyperConnect. We have our Getting Started guide, which I would recommend you doing first. This will walk you through step by step setting up a Hyper app and setting up a data service. We also have workshops, video workshops for both Dino and Node. And we have quick starts, including the storage quick start that we just worked with today. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it showed how easy it is to use Hyper and how you can use it to focus on what really matters, and that's your features. Do me a favor, go to the dashboard, dashboard.hyper.io, and just try out Hyper for yourself. Once you're on dashboard.hyper.io, just simply click GitHub to authenticate with your GitHub account, and you have a free account with 3 free Hyper apps. And do that, and hopefully you find it an awesome developer experience. I'll check you later. My name's Trip, and welcome to HyperCloud. Bye-bye.